process.
Hello. Thank you so much for coming back. My name is Robert. I am the Recovery Guy. And if this is Thursday, this must be the checkup. I'm so glad that you checked in so we could check up. It's a good day to get well and to live out our life with abundance, with joy, with the opportunity to share and to communicate and to make a difference in the life of at least one person. You know, if we could do that, if that could be our goal, to make that difference with one person every day, at least one person, what a difference it would make in them and what a difference it would make in us. Here's what I have found out. To make a difference in the life of someone means to meet them where they're at, to be significant in a particular way. And we don't know how many opportunities or how many people we need to engage in the course of our day to make that significant difference in their life. So usually to have success with one or two people, I need to engage a number of people with that goal, as my brother Damon Willis says, to leave everyone better than I found them, to make that significant difference in their life. And I hope you do that. I hope that is something where you're checking up with yourself to see if we are being that way towards someone else, because whether you agree with it or subscribe to it or not, we are our brother's keeper. And the sooner we acknowledge that and implement that principle, again, of making a difference in the life of at least one person every day, to be significant to someone else, and how much better it will make us feel. So, hey, I want to thank you so much for going to the major channels. Again, we are Spotify, we are Google Play, we are Podbean, we are Stitcher, we are Apple Podcasts, iTunes Podcasts. So, you know, whatever channel you're listening on, let us know. Listen, comment, subscribe, and share. I'm going to ask you to do that continually. We are so excited. JJ and I were talking before we laid down this podcast of how good things are going and the responses we're getting from you and the amount of listeners that we're getting and the downloads, and really getting excited and ready to start doing some more things. We've got John Barker, website extraordinaire, administrator. He's tweaking to make some things a little bit more available, and we're really looking to expand our ability to serve you. You know, and again, hopefully you listened to the fix from Monday and you've gone and you've downloaded Quote of the Day with Sean Croxton, and you're enjoying those podcasts and really adding another level to your life. Here's what's going on. You know, as things become important to me, and as I'm driving or sharing or in the course of my day, I really am concerned with how I'm doing from the inside out, because I know if I'm doing well, I'll be creative in the topics and the different things that I look to present to you, and I will present them in a way that makes a difference in your life. And whether you're in recovery or you just consider your life as a whole as your recovery, I want to make a difference in your life. Whether you're new to the concept of becoming well or you've been at this for a long time, I want to, be milk to the new person and enough meat on the bone for the person who's been around a while, and a little difference, to someone in between. So I think, what I want to talk about today is universally true. And and we want to heal. We want freedom. Every one of us has something that we are recovering from. Every one of us has something that we are healing from. Every one of us has been in bondage, and we need freedom from some things or some individuals, a mindset. We need freedom and healing. Here's what I found out. And this is for me, and if it applies to you, that's great. The connection between healing and freedom. There's a great connection there. Just like when I was speaking about purpose and security and insecurity and a lack of purpose, my security is directly tied to my feeling of having a purpose. And there's a real connection between healing and freedom. Have you ever thought about that in your life? And I'm not just talking about a physical healing, and I'm not just talking about a little bit of freedom. I'm talking about total freedom of expression, the ability to make choices. Now, if you've listened to me much before, you know I'm a person of definitions. So when I consider freedom, here's what it says in the dictionary. The power or right to act, speak, or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint. Freedom of choice. Again, the power or the right to act, speak, or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint. Have you ever felt that way? Have you ever felt that you had that degree of independence, that feeling of self-determination or self-government? Have you ever felt that you had that sort of sovereignty as being your own person, or the autonomy of owning decisions and making them? Have you ever felt that way? I mean, really felt that way. And I'm not just talking about one area of life. Then we get on to the area of healing. And that is the process of making or becoming sound or healthy again. To make healthy, whole, or sound choices, to be restored to health. Part of the whole Recovery Guy podcast is all about one of my themes and mottos, and that is from broken to whole. And that's what healing is, a restoration to health. As the dictionary says, to be free from ailment, to bring to an end or conclusion, as conflict between people or internal conflict comes to an end, usually with the strong implication of restoring or reconciling to a place in what I'll call freedom or wellness. To take something where there was conflict and remove the conflict so it becomes whole. Have you ever thought about those things to that degree? I know I have. But I try not to just think of them in a general sense where I would just say, oh, I'm fine. I have freedom to say this, or I can go here, or I can go there. I'm not talking about surface healing. I'm not talking about surface freedom. I'm talking about complete and total healing. I'm talking about complete and total freedom. And the way to achieve that, to get that total balance, to be in alignment moving forward in our life, we have to consider the freedom and the healing in the 4 dimensions. The life that we live is composed of 4 dimensions, and you may or may not be aware of this. But to not be aware of this, in my view, in my experience, and the experience that of those who I have trained under, we have the physical. That includes our physical body and our physical health. The mental, it includes our intelligence, our mindset, or that mental map, that paradigm, as Covey would talk about, in our growth as an individual. Then, if that wasn't enough, we have the emotional, and that includes our feelings, our maturity, and our relationships with other people. Then, if that wasn't enough, we have to dig even deeper into the more intangible, and we have to include the spiritual, because we are spiritual beings. And when we consider the spiritual, which is the 4th dimension, it includes our faith. Whatever that faith may be, it's a wide open door. It's your faith. I'm not going to try to convince you that one faith is better than another. I'm just going to try to convince you that we have to have faith. Traditions. Some of those faiths and traditions come with from a particular religion or a foundational belief from a different type of teaching that may be, more relevant or significant to you. Some of you may be a little bit more eclectic and have an approach a little bit from here and a little bit from there. But if we are to be well-rounded, if we are to be in alignment, if we are to be absolutely free, if we are to be absolutely healthy, healing, we must include all 4 dimensions. And to the best of our ability, we need to approach each of these individually, knowing that these 4 individual components make up the whole of who we are. Say that again. These 4 individual components make up the whole of who we are. To leave one behind, to be physically well, to know that I'm in shape and I'm in good health, I don't have cancer, I don't have arthritis, I don't have any, and I'm in pretty good health. To think that that would be enough where I could exclude my mindset. I might be in physically good shape, but I could be a wandering, as Zig Ziglar says, a wandering generality rather than a meaningful specific. I need to be mentally alert to make proper decisions, to operate on that intellectual level so my life makes logical sense. So it's not just enough to feel good, to be in shape, although feeling good and being in shape and going to the doctors and making sure we're eating right and living right and getting good rest, all the things, staying hydrated, all the things that we need to do for our physical body to make sure that we can go where we want to go and have express freedom in where we go with our bodies and what we do and the places we're able to go And as long as we possibly can, I know as I advance in age, there are certain things that I can do or can't do today that I could do last month or last year or 10 years ago, right? But that doesn't mean I'm not in physically good shape. It just means I've aged and there are things that I probably shouldn't engage in. Like, you don't want to see me on a pair of ice skates. Not a good idea, right? At 65 years old, being on the ice, that's pretty slick out there. However, 15 years ago, not a bad idea. I could get around okay. Today, not so much, right? I have to safeguard my physical by being mentally ready to say, not a good idea, right? I operate with a particular mindset that's in alignment with my health. That gives me the freedom to make those decisions that are healthy decisions, that are healthy intellectually, so it lends itself to the healthy physical. Then I look at the emotional. The emotion is so important. We don't want to miss this because I have to consider how I feel. Because very often how I feel about a particular person or situation or some type of thing that I'm involved with really has a lot to do with even my thinking, right? Just like my thinking can help safeguard my emotion as I enter into relationships practically, right? I can help my emotions not get out of check. My emotion can really affect my mental state as well. I have to operate emotionally with a degree of maturity as an adult, right? I have grandchildren, 12-year-old grandchild, 4-year-old grandchild, 6-year-old grandchild. They're going to act not as emotionally mature as me, although sometimes I've been accused of acting like a child, right? For the most part, that's not how I ought to operate. I ought to operate with a certain amount of control and freedom and health and a certain amount of emotional maturity, especially with my relationships with other people and certain circumstances and situations. Once again, to have that alignment with the physical and the mental, I need to be emotionally healthy as well, expressing my freedom to do certain things. But also freedom gives me the right to not do certain things as well. Freedom is not only to do what I want, but it's the freedom to not do what I don't want, or the freedom to not do what I would want, but I know it's not what's best. I know to do or to express that freedom in doing it would not be demonstrating proper mental decision-making, or it's physically out of my realm and it could cause me physical harm, which in course will mess with my mind. And then once my mind is affected, it could affect me on an emotional level from the inside out. Then we come to the spiritual. If you understand anything about personal recovery, any type of recovery, there's a certain amount of faith that's involved in becoming well. Because so often we're asked to believe something we cannot see, and that is faith. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. If you haven't heard that biblical passage before, and again, it doesn't matter what your spiritual orientation is, that definition of faith is a universal definition. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. So often we have to believe in something. Now, I'm not talking about believing in the absurd, because we have a mental process that allows us to make sense of things, right? To not get our belief structure so off board that we would believe things that could do us harm or harm others, right? Or to be so emotionally bound by a particular belief that it jeopardizes our well-being, and it would again jeopardize our mental state that could harm us physically. We need to operate, though, as a spiritual being. And again, that needs to have balance with the other three dimensions, the physical, the mental, and the emotional. When those are aligned and it meets the spiritual, and we have these four operating effectively and efficiently, how balanced our life is will totally blow us away. And it's important, and it's not to say that we're operating perfectly in all levels at all times. Hopefully we have some type of measurement, some type of guidelines that helps us understand when we are a little bit too far in one area that throws the other off balance. Again, we need to be aligned as we're going down the road of life. All of these things need our attention. Sometimes, depending upon an event or a circumstance, something happens in our life that we were unexpected, and it caused us some great emotional response, and it took us a minute to get that emotion down so we could really understand what it would be like to respond to that on a mental level, so we could process it, so we could then get our emotional back. Or something happens mentally and it really stretches our faith when we hear something or we understand something has occurred and we process it mentally, but we process it through our filter of faith, where it doesn't make sense that this thing would occur. But since we're a person of great faith and we meditate on that particular event or circumstance through the lens of our belief structure, our belief system, and then we find an emotional peace and we're able to physically calm ourselves so we're not nervous. And all of these four things come together to give us peace in an otherwise unpeaceful situation. We have the freedom to act. We have the freedom to not act. And we begin to heal in ways that we never thought were imaginable before. I don't know if these things have ever occurred to you. What I do know is that there is a real connection between healing and freedom. And the more I'm healed, the more free I become. And the more free I become, the more it promotes my healing, to make good choices, to have that freedom of expression that allows me to share or not share what I believe and how I want to conduct my life. And when I have all those elements working together, I become more whole. I become of greater value, and I begin to feel better physically. I begin to make better decisions mentally. Emotionally, I'm in balance and I'm aligned in not only my personal regard for me, but the relationships I have with others. And my faith is deepened. My belief structure is in line with my life, and I become a person of alignment. I hope this has helped you today. I know sharing it has certainly helped me. I want to become a person of balance. I want to become a person who is free, who is always in the process of healing, because just like recovery, healing is a process. I can never become so well that I never have to become more well, or as my dear friend Tom Bennett would say, weller than the well, right? I want to be known as a person who's always growing, who's always sharing, who's always expressing, who's always healing, who's always becoming more free in the mental, the physical, the emotional, and the spiritual, all 4 dimensions of my life. And I hope you are the same way. I hope you have enjoyed this checkup. I hope you consider looking at those 4 dimensions, checking out your spiritual, evaluating your emotional, taking check and guard of your mental, and then understanding how important the physical is as we take care of ourselves. This has been Robert. I am the recovery guy. Please, please, please tell a friend. Subscribe, comment, share, and we look forward to seeing you the next time. Have a great day. Thanks for listening. I am the recovery guy. I was trying to do everything